And then getting into what's going on at first base, Chase, you can start this one off just because I think you kind of have an idea of what's happening. I briefly brought up a trade about Salvador Perez going to the Padres, and the reason I brought that up was because I'm concerned about Austin Nola. I don't know if he's going to be the starting catcher. So what happens if he's not able to be that full-time starting catcher in your mind?
Yeah, Nola can play a bunch of different positions. He can play all throughout the infield, and he can play outfield. And if he can play first base, even better, because his glove probably is going to be a little bit stronger than Hosmer's, just because Hosmer is one of the worst rated defenders in the league. It brings another bat, brings a really good righty bat. He's come out clutch in some situations when he first got back. Unfortunately, he went down again, but we all know Austin Nola is a really good hitter, and that if you can hit, they'll find somewhere for you to play. And I'm okay with him not catching because you really do get beat up on the catching position, and we've seen Nola miss time with injuries already. That knee sprain still might come back to aggravate him, so I'm really okay with him just sticking at first base and maybe other infield spots and occasionally an outfield start. But first base is probably where ex-catchers go to play because you don't really move around a lot for the most part. It's a little easier to play, and for the most part, catchers are used to picking the balls because pitchers do spike a lot of things in the dirt, and you acquire that skill pretty easily. So I think what the Padres are going to do, that if Hosmer doesn't really live up to his bat and kind of just stays a little below his career averages and plays worse with love, why not throw Nola at first? And yeah, you know what? The bat might be about the same, if not a little bit better, but the glove is not going to lose you any games. It actually might win you.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely the case. I mean, at the very least, I think that Nola will hit against lefties, and we've already seen the Padres take out Hosmer a little bit against lefties. A lot of times, Cronenworth will come to first, and then Kim will take over at second. I definitely think that if Nola is not healthy enough to play behind the plate, and he did, we're recording this the night that he did just play behind the plate, so he's played one time, I believe, in his rehab, and there's a question of, is he going to be able to consistently do that? Because if he can only play, let's say, 1 or 2 every 5 days, 2 every 5 days is all right, I think. Because then you can have Caratini. Caratini's been the catcher 3 out of 5 times already. And if you put him back there 2 days and then you put him at first 2 days, all right, maybe that works. I don't even know if he can handle that much, though. We don't really know where he's at physically. Either way, great bat. I think it's a bat you want to get in the lineup. So if you add that in with that might improve first base, probably would improve the first base defense. I think it's definitely a good move. But if he can't play catcher, let's just say he can't play catcher very often, once every 5 days, and they really don't want to put him there. What do you think the Padres are going to do at catcher?
Well, it all depends on, I guess, the trade deadline. Who's going to be gone? Because we all know Campusano is knocking on MLB's doors. So if he can't catch and he only catches every 5th day, maybe they make him catch twice a week just because, certain guys might prefer Nola to Caratini, or they just want to get the bat in the lineup and keep the other guys in. That's okay with me. As long as he consistently gets at bats maybe 4 out of the 5 days a week, and you bring up Campo and he gets more reps behind home plate with the MLB pitching that he sees and catching, it may increase his value a little bit more for further trade bait. Or if not, Campo's gone, Caratini's the main catcher, and Nola makes the occasional spot start for him so that Caratini gets some rest, which is okay with me too, because I like Nola. His bat plays, his glove is really good across almost every part of the infield. So, and I'm okay with Caratini catching all the time because he's probably going to bring his bat back to around his career averages, which is about 250. Getting 250 from a catcher is a miracle for the Padres. We've all endured some horrendous hitting catchers, from Hedges to Mejia to Rene Rivera. It was kind of a mess. I mean, it'll get better. And you know what? Maybe Caratini's not the answer behind home plate for the long term. Maybe Nola isn't either. But we have a couple of guys in the minor leagues that's not named Campusano that are going to be good. So I'm not too worried about Nola not being able to catch because there's going to be guys that can catch and hit at the same time. And Bertini's a great defensive catcher. He works really well with the pitchers. He's going to be here anyway just because Darvish is going to be here. So Nola can make the occasional spot start and start anywhere in the infield. I just want his bat to play wherever he's needed at.
Yeah, I do think there's a couple things to talk about from that. I think first off, Campusano, I'm really, really interested to see what happens to him. We brought him up as potentially getting moved for Joey Gallo. And we've talked about him in like other trade possibilities before, I believe also. Just because it's hard to tell like where the Padres organization is at with him. And when we talked about that before, that was assuming that Austin Nola would come back to be the starting catcher. But if that is not the case, and he's almost MLB ready, it's definitely ideal that you call him up and he's the backup catcher to Caratini. That's why it's been weird to me, at least, and I don't know how the whole fan base feels about that. Please comment what you think, because I've always thought it's weird that Webster Rivas has been up for so long. And I think he's done a great job behind the plate for the pitchers, but offensively has not been the answer. And Campusano has been killing it in AAA. So that's something where I'm a little bit confused of why he hasn't been called up. I think that potentially Nola not being able to play catch for the rest of the year, maybe if they were going to trade Campusano, they feel like they can't. Maybe he gets called up, and maybe it's a blessing in disguise of like, oh, Austin Nola can't play catcher that much. Because they're like, you know what? We're not even going to try him at catcher. Like, it's not worth it. We don't want him to go down. Chase, you already talked about how valuable his bat is as a catcher. I think he has a very valuable bat as a first baseman as well. Like, I think he is a guy that he can be a guy that like just gaps balls consistently. Like, he can be that guy at the bottom of the lineup that's bringing guys on when, you know, we've seen how many times, and yes, it is Slam Diego. We've seen how many times, you know, the bases have been stranded. Not always going to get Daniel Camarena to bail us out on those. So having Austin Nola down at the bottom of the lineup, that could help. All right. So, I mean, I definitely think like it's going to be really interesting to see how both first base and catcher play out, because it could go a number of ways. But anything else you want to add before we take off?
No, I think that was it. I pretty much said everything I needed to say.
All right, awesome. Well, I think that's going to do it for today's segment. Thanks for listening, and we're going to be, you know, doing some stuff for the upcoming series. Might have a guest on for the Brave series, so that'll be fun. But I think it's going to do it for today's episode. So thanks for listening. Make sure to sub, and hopefully Austin Nola is good, healthy, ready to go. But we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.